Hey guys, welcome back to my workshop. I'm in the process of turning this Tuff shed into my dream workshop. In the last couple of videos, I whitewashed the tongue and groove ceiling and then painted the walls a nice crisp white. In this video, I'm going to install LVP flooring and break down the process step by step. You can find the tools and flooring materials linked in the description below. Let's install some flooring. Since this is a workshop, it's important that the flooring is very durable. I want to thank Flooret for sponsoring this video and for introducing me to their Modine LVP flooring. They sent me some samples of their Modine LVP as well as their Sylvan hardwood. I loved every sample piece, but I was sold on the LVP because of its commercial grade wear layer, pre-attached underlayment. It is 100% waterproof and DIY friendly. Their LVP planks come in 3.5, 6, and 9-inch widths. I decided to go with the narrow Craftsman planks in the color Tilden. These planks are about 3.5 inches wide and 72 inches long. They're 7 millimeters thick with a 40 mil wear layer. They're also 100% waterproof and scratch resistant. You can receive 50% off your flooring samples by using code StephanieFlooret. Check out the link in the description below. Here are the tools that I used to install the flooring. I picked up this flooring installation kit, which was a must. It includes a tapping block, pull bar, and spacers. The tapping block has special grooves for this type of flooring used for tapping in the short and long ends of your planks so that they can snap into place without damaging the flooring. This pull bar is used to tap planks into place at the end of your row where there isn't room for the tapping block. This kit also came with spacers. These spacers didn't quite work for me, and I'll explain why in a bit. You'll want to cut a scrap piece of flooring to bridge the gap. This piece will help align the ends of your flooring while you tap them into place. To cut the ends of the flooring, I used a miter saw. I used a jigsaw to notch out areas of the flooring and also used a table saw to rip down my last row of flooring. You could also use a utility knife to cut and snap the flooring or a multi-floor cutting tool. To prep the floors, I vacuumed them thoroughly with my shop vac. Flooret recommends a 6 mil polyethylene moisture barrier on top of concrete slabs, so that's what we're putting down here. I recommend using a different product with adhesive strips on the back. I will link that product below. It lays much nicer than what we have here. I laid out a bunch of boxes of flooring so that I could have a nice range of planks to choose from, avoiding repetition. Before installing, you need to determine the direction of your planks. It's best to lay the planks parallel to the longest room dimension. It's also recommended not to install cabinets on top of floors. With the texture of the floors, you risk water leaking underneath the cabinets. It also limits expansion space. We are going to install cabinets on top of our floors anyways. It just makes the process a bit easier, and since we're starting near the doorway and ending where the cabinets will go, we don't have to worry about the last row being perfect. If the last row of your planks are going to be visible, take a measurement of your room to determine the width of the last row of planks. If the width of the last row is less than 2 inches, you may want to rip your first row of planks accordingly. We are working from left to right. We laid out and dry fit our first row of planks, locking the ends together by inserting the tongue into the groove at an angle. It's recommended to leave a 1/4 inch expansion gap between the flooring and all perimeter walls or neighboring floors, so keep that in mind. Once the first row is snapped together, we pushed it against the wall. Our walls aren't perfectly square, and there's a few places that we need to notch out around the doors. I took my speed square and marked out around the doors where we needed to cut the flooring. We notched those pieces out with a jigsaw and then snapped the pieces back into place. This row is now nice and square. We have spacers around the edges to keep that 1/4 inch expansion gap, and now we can continue on to the second row. Regarding floor layout, you'll want to stagger your joints. I'm just using the cut end of the previous row to start the new row. As long as I keep this process, all the joints will be staggered. For the following rows, I took the leftover plank from the first row, locking the long edge of the plank by angling it into the groove and then dropping it in place. Our drywall sits about a ½ inch off the ground, and we couldn't use normal spacers or they would just fall underneath the drywall. So instead I used the corner of my speed square on each row. This left a perfect 1/4 inch gap every time, and it prevented the flooring from sliding underneath the drywall as I tapped the ends of the flooring into place. After each new row, I transferred the speed square to the next. They do make special spacers for this, but I couldn't find them in stores, and I found that the speed square worked just fine. You just have to be careful when removing it to not scratch your flooring. For the next piece, I slid the end of the plank towards the end of the previously installed plank until the tongue just touched the groove. I made sure the entire long edge of the flooring was tight, and with a scrap piece of flooring, I bridged the gap of the two ends of the planks. With the tapping block and hammer, I tapped the end of the plank until the ends snapped in place. I continued this process until I reached the final plank of the row. I set a new piece in place, flipped it around, and then marked out where it needs to be cut. I cut the board down with my miter saw and then set the piece in place, again bridging the gap. This time I took the pull bar, slipped it behind the end of the plank, and then used my mallet or hammer to lock the final piece into place. Make sure that when you're measuring your final piece that you're leaving enough room for that pull bar to slide behind it. Don't forget to pull planks from different boxes so that you avoid repeating any floor patterns. Like I mentioned before, we're installing cabinets right over the flooring, so this last row doesn't have to be perfect. I ended up ripping this row down an inch or so that I could easily get the pull bar behind the flooring at the back wall. For this last row, I wasn't able to use that scrap piece to bridge the gap, so Devin held the boards down while I tapped them into place. I'm going to be installing base trim, which will hide all of those gaps around the perimeter. There is your tutorial on how to install LVP flooring. I hope you guys found this video helpful. In the next video, I'm installing cabinets, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.